G'day everyone. Let me start off by saying thank you so much for everyone who's been a part of the character design masterclass, just the feedback or anyone who supported it, and just the feedback, the response has been amazing. I just really appreciate everyone's positivity, even people who haven't been getting the class but have just been a part of the journey and sharing your feedback. Thank you so much. It's just been such a positive experience and really feels like a little bit back to my roots, which is the topic of this vlog, because I did something over a week ago. It was 2 weeks ago. It was on the same day that I decided I was going to do the character design masterclass when Sarah Renee Clark came and visited. It was a Friday, just under 2 weeks ago. And what it was Sarah and I laughed because she and Shane did the same thing driving here. They both sort of like watched the back catalogue of my channel to sort of like understand where I came from in terms of like the drawing tutorials and stuff. Well, what I did was I spent about 4 hours looking at this vlog channel from the very beginning, because it's a really clear chain of evidence as to where I was at. And my motivation for doing this has been, I'm in this really weird place right now. Like I'm in some ways feeling more inspired than I have in a while, and in some ways really struggling to tap into feeling inspired and knowing how to do that in a reliable way. Partially, I think, because I've been doing this for 10 years. I think there's so many times I've reinvented the channel, the Jazza channel, or myself, or whatever it is, that there's a degree to which like doing that feels like diminishing returns, or like it's just exhausting. And you know, is the answer to sort of go back and do things the way that you've done in previous years when it was successful, or is the answer to sort of like realize the platform is different in some ways that you haven't sort of accounted for in the past, that you sort of need to reinvent in totally new ways? So there's all these questions I still haven't answered, but in the pursuit of that, what I did was, like, my priority is less about honing in on the channel performance and all that. It's more about what is sustainable for me in terms of feeling inspired, and you know, so that for the next 10 years I have the opportunity for, you know, success in different ways, but mainly to feel like I'm doing something I love. Like, that's the most important thing. So what I did is I went through the back catalogue of the channel. I'm just trying to see if here it is. Let me show you my documentation. I've called this Hustle History, and this is from the vlog channel. And what I've done is I've tried to sort of block, these are the months of the year, and this is from 2015, which is the start of the vlog channel. And I think, yeah, so basically 2015, I was doing 3 videos a week on the Jazza channel. So this black bar all the way down is like what I'm doing on the main channel. And then everything under that is what months and what I was working on. So I started working on the Tale Teller in August of 2015. Started working on my Creating Characters book in June of 2015. That carried through to 2016. So that goes, you know, I finished my book in the Tale Teller, you know, July, August. I made an Artie Games app there over the course of 4 months. I made a TV show in the course of 3 months there. And while I was traveling internationally, went to Adobe Max in November. So it was kind of wild because at the time I was daily vlogging, and then over the history of this channel, so I keep going to fix my hair. I'm so pedantic. I've been basically documenting my whole journey really thoroughly, especially thoroughly at the start. What blows my mind looking back at this, and I'm trying to map out, like, you know, where I was at and what I was doing, is for the first 2 years of this vlog, I was doing 3 videos a week on the Jazza channel. I was daily vlogging and editing those vlogs and uploading them on my phone on this channel for over a year. I made my book. I made a 10-minute animation over the course of 10 months. I made a TV show. I made an app. And I went to America for a conference and the UK for a holiday and a meetup. It's such a mind-boggling amount that I did. And it was just me. It was me and Kate. But like, in terms of like content production, I didn't have, like, I might have outsourced a little bit of editing here and there, but I was the editor. and there's this feeling of like, where's that? How do I tap back into that? I think to an extent, the standard is so different now. Like when I look at the footage of those videos and the videos, like I show, oh, this is the video I'm editing, and it shows the edit timeline. I'm like, oh wow, like flashing back to what the standard of videos on YouTube was compared to what it is. It's so different. Like I could now, anyone in my team could now edit a 2015 Jazza video in an hour, 2 hours, right? Whereas now it's like 2 days, 3 days. And that's purely just like the production process is more intense. There's more required in terms of filming. The audience expectations and how watchable content has changed a lot. Anyways, I digress. But the point is, I've sort of mapped out over since 2015 to now the evolution of my time on the channel. So like, when did I switch to 2 videos a week? When did I switch to 1 video a week? What were the product outputs, or what were the productions that I worked on separate to the main channel? And all that stuff is sort of mapped out in a way for me to, it was really just about me understanding like what had I produced, but really thinking about like where was I at in terms of like how inspired I was or what I was feeling. So I just wrote some notes because I figured I was going to share some of this with you guys. And I wrote what I've learned after watching myself struggle for 7 years. And I think that's the first thing I'll say is that it's always been a struggle. Even back in 2015, 2016, it's easy to romanticize when things were sort of like, you know, on this upwards trend and it was the beginning of something big, to sort of think of it as this magical time. But man, it's like there are degrees to which I'm sort of struggling or suffering through making things happen now, but it's actually no different to what I was like back then. It was just a different thing. So I think like I just wrote suffering in capital letters. I shared it with you guys and it's all there, but it's different. You know, it's interesting in that I listened to the audiobook, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Flip. And it's a book I'd avoided for a while because of the ostentatious title. But it's really good. I highly recommend it. And one of the things it sort of says in it is who you are. This is a quote I liked. Who you are is defined by what you're willing to struggle for, which I think is brilliant. And I think to a degree back then, there was like a degree to which I sort of knew what I was struggling for. And while I do now, a lot of it is for other people or other things. Like it's, you know, my team here and it's like, you know, the obligations of running a business and some of these things that don't actually give me creative fulfillment. So I guess the question sort of comes back to me of like, how am I what are the things that I'm going to suffer for creatively that are going to give me that? And that's sort of the journey I'm on. So these are the lessons I've learned. My scheduling is always optimistic, but I always optimize systems and I've always achieved. So it's interesting because I keep telling myself I'm terrible at scheduling, but it's so interesting because I flash back to those vlogs where I show what my calendar was, what my schedule was, and it was so simple. It was like every day I had 1 or 2 sticky things on my calendar. My calendar today, which I'm A, way better at sticking to, is B, way more complicated, like insanely complicated. I have like 20 calendars and I have like 8 switched on at any given moment, and I have everyone else's calendars accessible if I need them. But I've created this system based on the same idea of just being able to move things around in slot compartments. And it's always just gotten a bit better. I've just felt like I'm the same amount of bad at scheduling as I've advanced and improved the system. So if I had the same schedule that I had back then, I'd be the perfect scheduler. It's just because I live in this area of discomfort by reaching beyond my grasp that I feel like I'm not good at it. So I think that was kind of encouraging in a way. I've also noted that I've always needed too many projects. I suffer without them and I suffer with them. And that's interesting too, because it's like, when I'm not doing too much, and that's the thing people warn me off of like, you know, don't burn yourself out and all that stuff. But when I take it easy, I go insane. Like I can't do that. And actually, it's a worse kind of suffering me because I tend to head towards more of a depressive state. Whereas when I'm striving for something, there's at least a hunger. So, and there's always that feeling of having achieved something regardless of the outcome. Like when I vlogged at the end of creating the character design masterclass, that feeling of having finished something is addictive to me and is really satisfying and a wonderful pursuit. So anyways, and last, I just wrote this in all caps. I did what feels like so much more with much less help. Expectations are different. So I think that's one of the things I'm trying to learn now is recognizing I have so much help and actually leaning on it rather than being someone who's always wanting to be there for other people, which I naturally want to do all the time, recognizing that they're here to help me and leaning on that and using that to free up my time and space and create time for me to struggle on more stuff I signed myself up for. So that was I just wanted to share that with you. And I did print up a question of the day that I subsequently lost. It's on the ground, which is from TLAC4120. How do you deal with time and energy restrictions when you are in the flow? So like, let's say I've scheduled to work on this video and then 4 other things around that. If I'm like working on something and I get in a flow and it becomes clear that I'm not going to be able to finish all of it, I always prioritize the flow. And it might be sometimes if there are other appointments that like I can't miss out or whatever it is, I'll come back and like work late, or I'll like, the reason I end up in that place is because the flow it's the juice. You need the flow, right? So in creative work, like YouTube content or whatever, once the flow is going, you just go and you ride the wave until you reach the end. And the trick is understanding, learning about yourself, how far that's going to carry out, how long the wave is going to ride, and trying to anticipate so you can schedule wisely, because obviously that's the goal. But sometimes you'll take longer. So like, I guess the trick is to try and give yourself more space. But if there's ever something that feels like it will restrict you, the flow takes priority, So I tend to overextend myself rather than cut the flow short, because everything I do is in search of the flow. Anyways, thanks for joining, guys, for this whole blur of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I summarized in this video, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts and judgments. I don't know. See ya.